We've created a new document. Right now it should be untitled. So I want to File and Save As on your computer, not the Creative Cloud, because I have no idea how you'll access it, and just call it Pet Sketch Practice. Save it to your desktop. I'm going to save that. Okay. And now you'll see there's my document. Now, assuming that you've already downloaded on your Mac, if I go down here where the Finder is and go down to Downloads, I should find your pet sketch. Yours might just be like an image number, I'm not sure. I'm going to drag this to my desktop just so I can find it easily. And then I want to click on a Mac. You can just click and drag it directly into Illustrator and click, and I'm going to slide this to the middle. If I go up to Window, go down to Layers, I can duplicate this layer. Let's duplicate layer 1. So I've got, if I hide this, it just looks the same. So here's my layer here. I'm going to double click the layer on the bottom, double click that, call it background, and lock it. I'm going to keep this one here for later. So I'm going to create another new layer, call this pen tool, and say OK. And now if I hide that, I don't see the background. Right now I'm on my pen tool layer. So I'm going to go over to the pen here. If I just click and hold, you'll see it says pen tool. It's got this little pen look. And the way this works, I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you guys can see. There's a zoom tool here. I always hold, what is it? I don't even know anymore. Just going to move this. This is my mouse pad here. And the way this works, I'm going to click and hold so I can drag. I'm going to click back here on the anchor point and then go up here, click and hold so I can drag. So with the pen tool, I'm going back to the anchor point because if I click here, see how that line is curved concave? So by selecting the anchor point, it resets it. So now I can go up here and click and drag. So I'm not letting go of the mouse, right? And then I'm going to click back here on the anchor point, and that gets rid of that, what's called a handle. Here I'm going to click and drag, click on the anchor, click and drag. You get the gist. So I'm just going to do this quickly, clicking and dragging and selecting the anchor point to reset that point. If I don't click on the anchor point, let's just say I click all over the place, maybe click and drag. You can see if I hide this here, what's happening, I get this really weird shape. So I'm going to Command Z. We'll go back to there, and now I'm going to click back on that anchor point. And this is just teaching you how to click and drag and draw using lines. I like the pen tool better than the paintbrush, which is what we're going to use next, just because it's quicker and cleaner, I think. So if I hide this layer, which is my background layer, you can see right now I just created an outline. Now, rather than starting the next line, I'm going to hold the option key, spacebar. So the spacebar is my hand tool. That's going to allow me to click. I'm holding the spacebar down and clicking and dragging while I'm holding the spacebar down just to move around. The other thing, spacebar command, and that gives me the zoom in. Spacebar command option will give me the zoom out. Key commands are huge. I'm just going to keep going over these all the time. So now you've got the black arrow tool, which is the selection tool, and the white arrow tool, which is the direct selection tool. I'm going to click on that, and then just notice now my pen tool is done. So I'm going to click to deselect that. Now I can't see that line because it's a black illustration with a black outline. This is my outline. So if I go to Window, go to Color, and I like to use swatches. This is the fill. If I select the stroke, which is my line, the stroke color, I'm just going to make that yellow so that now when I click with the white arrow, which will deselect my line, now I can see my yellow line drawing. So I'm going to keep it stroked yellow so when I go back to my pen tool, I could also hit the letter P here on the keyboard. So P will toggle, and A is the open arrow tool. So I can hit A to get my open arrow, or P just to get the pen tool. Again, these are just quick tips on how to. So now I've clicked and I'm just moving the pen around with the mouse. Now when I click and hold, I'm going to drag to draw that line and click to deselect. I'm going to hit the letter A to click and deselect so that I can start my next line. P for the pen tool, click and drag, click and drag. So practice using the pen tool today. I want you to trace essentially your original drawing. The point of this activity is to get comfortable with drawing in Adobe Illustrator. We're going to do other tutorials. Oh, that's it too. So right now I'm on the pen tool and my mouse is just moving. If I hold the command key down, that gives me the open arrow tool and I can just click while the command key is selected and deselect that way. And then I don't even have to go back to the pen tool because it just flips back when I let go of the keyboard. So again, I'm going to click and drag. Let me get through this. I want to show you the next thing on this and click and drag. Okay, command key, click, deselect. Okay, so let me hide this for a second. That's what I have so far. So the next thing, I'm going to zoom in. Now the nose, I want to make this a closed shape. And what that means is I'm going to close it up and watch as I click and drag. I'm still drawing the same way. I'm just sort of outlining my art. And I have something called a smooth tool. So if your lines aren't perfectly smooth, like right here, kind of there's an indent, I can smooth that out later, which I'll show you at a later time. But for now, I just want you to practice clicking and dragging, clicking on the anchor tool to reselect or to get rid of that extra handle. So I'm clicking and dragging, click, click and drag, click. Okay, I'm going to try to do this quickly just so I can get to the next part. Click and drag, click. And if you're on YouTube, you can maybe skip ahead a couple seconds if this is boring. Otherwise, maybe it's relaxing for you to sit and watch. Sometimes it can be. I don't know. I get bored. Okay, almost done. So pay attention here. Now, I'm going to click and drag. To get a closed shape, when I click on this dot, notice below the pen tool, that is turning into a circle. It might be hard to see. There's a little circle there. So what that means is if I command Y, that's going to give you preview mode without, you can just see the lines. So now you can see this here. If I click on this, this is a completely closed object. And that's important because if I want to fill this, I'm going to fill it with red right now. Now it's completely filled. Watch what happens if I select my outline of the dog here. I'm just going to pick blue just to show you. It fills it. It just gives me a straight line, but there's no line there. So sometimes when we're using Illustrator, students get confused when there's something wonky when you're trying to fill something. That's why. It just means you have an open shape. I think even this shape, if I wanted to fill the dog's face, I can't because this here is just a floating line. If I click and drag it, it's not a closed shape. But for now, don't worry about it. We're just learning how to use Illustrator. Okay, so for here, I could use the pen tool and draw the shape, but I think it's easier if I click and hold on the rectangle tool and go to the ellipse tool and watch what happens. I'm going to click and drag and create an oval. Now, if I hit the letter R, that's the rotate tool, which is also over there. So while this oval is selected with the R rotate tool, I can now rotate this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to Command C is copy, Command V is paste, and now I can paste that same oval there. Now over here with the pen tool, I'm going to draw from here to draw that line. The problem is when I select this oval and I go to fill it, I'm going to randomly pick a different color, it fills the entire eye. I don't get that white area. So the better way to do this is I'm going to copy and paste this, drag this on top. So now there's two ovals here. You can't see it because one's directly on top of the other. But when I deselect just by clicking anywhere, I'm going to hit the letter A tool, which is my direct selection tool, click on one point of that oval and drag it in. Now you can see this is the oval that's lying on top. So now if I select that oval, I can fill that, and that now I have two separate shapes. But this is obviously weird. So what I'm going to do is if I hit the letter P for the pen tool and drag the pen tool over that point, see that little minus dash? I can delete that point and I still have my complete shape. So with the letter A tool, actually I think that's fine as that is. All right, so it's a little weird looking, so I'm going to make everything black and white. Just going to make that black. I'm just going to delete this by selecting it and just literally hitting the delete key on the keyboard, and select both of these, copy and paste, and drag that so I don't have to redraw it twice. If I wanted it to match my drawing exactly, I can click and drag over those points and drag that just so the eyes are different, a little more accurate to my drawing, and make that black. Now I Command A, select all, grab this, I want to make that outline black. So now if I hide my background, this is the background layer below it, that's locked, hide that, and now I have my line drawn. But my line is really thin, so I want to add that line variation. So again, let me make all the outlines yellow just so I can see. And I'm going to select this, and now I'm going to go, I think it's brushes. Brushes, okay. This is just giving me different thicknesses. So right now, there's something called the stroke weight. So if I go to Window, go down to Stroke, right now it's 1 point. So if I click up and make this heavier, you'll see 11 point is much fatter. But it's still not thin to thick. Notice the mouth here goes thin to thick. So I'm just going to do a quick brush tool here. So I'm going to grab this 3-point oval and select that. I'm going to hide my background because it's going to make it easier to see what's happening and make my stroke black. So maybe I go down to 5, and you can see already there is a little bit of thin to thick line variation, but I want it to be a little bit more dramatic. So if I double click that little icon, I get this calligraphy brush option tool. So now with this preview checked, I can move this up a little bit. Ooh, that's way too much. So that's 22. Let's make this 10. Okay, apply. Yeah, and I like that. If it fills in too much, this one, I'm just going to completely take the stroke off by none so that the nose doesn't have any stroke weight. And I could maybe do the same thing with the inside of the eyes. I don't need a stroke on those. And again, notice this is the stroke selected. If I accidentally had this filled and went to no fill, it would take the fill out, not the stroke. So just make sure you have the right thing selected there and hide that. And there you go. So that's how you use the pen tool.